Alright, g'day guys, and welcome back today to another Obsidian video. Today we're going to be discussing how to get your data out of Realmworks and import it directly into Obsidian. And for those of us who have been using Realmworks for a long time, you'd understand just how vital a piece of process that is, because we've been using Realmworks for, let's say, 4 to 5 years. Some of us, the amount of data we've put into there is probably obscene, and the idea of having to cut and paste our data out of Realmworks into Obsidian is, well, it's a scary concept. So it's not something we want to do, and we don't have to do it. Along comes Martin, aka Farling, who's basically been supporting the Realmworks community for a number of years now with tools like the Realmworks importer and the Realmworks output formatter. And today we're going to be looking at the Realmworks output formatter because Martin has updated his tool. We showed him Obsidian. We've asked him to provide some functionality for Obsidian, and he's just shocked us all with just exactly how efficiently he's managed to deliver, because hot damn is he quick at putting out updates. We're probably seeing 2 to 3 updates a day at the start. It's starting to slow down now, and what we're seeing is that the tool is now at a point where it's pretty much quite mature, and he's running out of new functionality that he wants to add. So it's starting to stabilize. So we're starting to get to a point where we could probably actually start outputting our data and using it. Just a note on that, like where my mind's at, like when the tool first came out, it was the first couple of versions. We didn't understand the functionality of Obsidian completely. So as we're learning about this new tool, Farling's updating the functionality of the output formatter to support the things that we want it to do. So it's absolutely brilliant, and absolute hats off to Farling. Okay, Martin, mate, thank you for everything you do. It's amazing, and it's really helping us get along. So without further ado, let's jump over and have a look. Alright, so in front of me now what you can see is this is Obsidian. I've got my import test vault open, and you can see here that I've just got a monster up, and this monster's been directly imported into Obsidian from Realmworks effectively. So you can see here we've got a nice picture. The picture is actually it's resized, and you can set the size of the pictures on your import during the tool, so that's really cool. It's got these links to open outside. You've got to have a mod installed for this. It'll be covered in a future video. It's currently in a beta stage, but basically you'll be able to right click this and go open in external window, or open a new window, and it opens a window which you can share to your second or your third screen so that your players can see it, just like Realmworks used to support. The POR files, so these are Hero Lab files. These are working. You can click these and they will open up into Hero Lab, which is fantastic. You can see that the data is coming through. It's nicely formatted. It does support tables. I've not used tables in Realmworks in this case here, which is why this isn't in a table, but you can certainly do tables with it. I've seen it working really well. Obviously you've got all your actions, you can see your abilities here. It's a bit of a note that it's come from Realmworks, and it's adding tags. So again, that's fantastic. If we have a look at what a story looks like, you can see obviously you've got your overview here. You can expand your headers or shrink your headers, and it's got support for the maps. Whoa, coming with pins. So I probably shouldn't have just dragged that in there, but yeah, the pins are exporting directly out. The content's all linked, so you can click that and it will open up the topic straight away. And you can see here that that it's supporting all of the links that have come from Realmworks. So all of that linkage, it's everywhere. And obviously that was the benefit of Realmworks, right? It had that full automatic linking, which this tool does have, by the way. I'll make another video on that, but if you want a quick leak, you want to have a look at the outgoing links pane. Unlinked mentions is really, really powerful. I recommend you have a look at that. But yeah, so obviously the format is lovely. It's usable content, and it does not take long to get into the tool at all. So let's jump over and find out where you can get this tool to start you off. We'll go from the Obsidian TTRPG user group. So for anyone that's following along, this is the new Facebook group where a lot of us are hanging out. there's a lot of conversation in this place as well as in the official Obsidian Discord channel. If you're new to Discord, jump over and have a look. The link will be in the description below, and there's a TTRPG channel in there where everyone's discussing. But obviously this Realmworks group is where most of the Realmwork users are hanging out at this point. And you can see the announcement up the top here is for Filing42, his Realmwork output formatter. It's a lovely picture of him there. So hi Martin, thank you for everything you're doing, mate. If you are watching this, really appreciate your support. He has got some links here, and just a quick bit of a note on these, like Filing spending his effort making these tools for us. He's been working to make us tools for many, many years, so if you can spare a little bit of coin, throw the man a coffee. Alright, and that way that'll ensure that we continue to get good tools moving into the future, because I certainly do appreciate it. I'm a supporter of his Patreon, and it just goes that little way to keeping him obviously engaged in making us cool toys. So thank you, Filing. But you can click these links to go over to his GitHub. If you're not familiar with GitHub, you're going to see a lot of it playing in the Obsidian space. GitHub is basically a website that's designed to manage code releases and software's development. So you're going to see a lot of it. And Filing has his own GitHub here. You can click back here to have a look at his other projects, but the RW output one is the one that we're looking for. You can see the link up here. It's github.com/filing42/RW output. All right, and you can see all of the files in here. So this is basically open source. So you can come in and have a look and see what's going on. Again, there's some links to support this project. Buy the man a coffee, support him on Patreon, that sort of thing. But what you're looking for is this releases. All right, and if you click here, this will take you to all of the release candidates. You can see he's got a description here of what the last release was, and there's some text here to let you know what's changed. You can see when he did the release, so you can tell if you need to obviously do an update. But what you're looking for is this file here. Download that and install it. I will state this, because this is a new application to the internet. It's not been downloaded a whole heap of time because there's not that many of us actually playing with this tool. You may get some false positives with virus detection. So yeah, just be aware of that. I found that as long as a lot of us are downloading this file, the virus flags go away. But I just let them through. I've got complete faith in Filing. I've been using his tools for years and I've never had any issues. Alright, so download that, do the install, alright, and then what that's going to look like is basically this. So this is the Realmworks output converter. You can see we're at version 3.17, which is aligned with the version number that's come out here. Alright, and it's a pretty simple tool. We're going to go through it in more detail in a minute. But what I want us to do is let's jump over to Realmworks first and let's see what it's like to actually prepare something for export. Alright, so here's Realmworks. You can see those pins, by the way. We're pretty much all lined up with the one coming out of Obsidian. What we've got here is I've got my Weeby Goblins, my Weeby Goblins 2. There's a couple of monsters in here as well over here in the mechanics reference. I think I've got my D&D 5th edition SRD file in here. So it's a useful realm for me, and we play Weeby Goblins annually, usually on my birthday. It's usually a bit of a drunken dice rolling session, so it's always good fun. But what we want to do is we want to prepare this to export. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the Share tab, we're going to go Manage Exports, and have a look at the options. So we've always got the option to export entire realm. Alright, now I've already got one created here, but what you need to do the first time you use this is obviously go through and at least give it a name. That's bare minimum, needs a name. You probably don't need to do everything else anymore, unless you like to complete things just for the sense of satisfaction. Because we're not going to be importing it back into Realmworks using this process. So I've personally found that I don't need a lot of this information at this point. I'm just doing a name, the save icon will enable, click save, and then that will enable these two buttons here. So what we have here is a full export. Now, some people have already been stumped because they're using the full export button and the tool does not support the full export. What you're after is the compact output. And you can see here, if you hold your mouse over it, says to export to a file that can be used by applications other than Realmworks. where this option here is designed so that you can export a file that can be imported into a different realm within Realmworks. So this is the one we need. We're getting the data out of Realmworks and putting it into something else. So again, you press that button, it takes a while, you tell it where you want it to save, and you click save, and then Realmworks will kind of do its thing and do the export. There is another option here which is a bit more advanced, so the custom or partial export. So let's just go through an example here. Let's say I wanted to get out just Weeby Goblins 1, not Weeby Goblins 2. I can put in Weeby Goblins, I can click save, and the compact output is done, but we're not actually ready. For anyone who remembers the export process from Realmworks, what that actually does is creates a tag in the system, and we need to go and apply that tag to the content that we want to export. So we'll close this down, we'll go back to the World Almanac, we'll right click on the top parent level of what we want to export, we'll go assign to views. Actually, sorry, I need to bulk tag. So what I'm going to do first actually is I'm going to create a new topic view. Weeby Goblins. Alright, now we've got a Weeby Goblins view. You can tick this option here, show in ribbon, if you want to show that in ribbon. But now what we can do is we can right click this and go assign to views, and assign to views Weeby Goblins. And now when we click this button up here, we only get all of the stuff that's designed for Weeby Goblins. Now what we can do is we can use this little toolbox option up here, and we can click that and go bulk tagging, assign tags to all topics in navigation pane, go down to our export grouping, and we can see Weeby Goblins. Alright, so we apply that tag, and what that does is that goes through and assigns the Weeby Goblins export tag to every single topic that's in this view. Alright, so you can do it for this. You might need to do it for mechanics as well. The process is exactly the same. You create an article view, you call it Weeby Goblins Mechanics. Alright, and then using that, what we can do is just, I'm going to assign all of that, to be honest. Bulk tagging, assign tags, Weeby Goblins. Alright, now everything that we want to export is there. I've basically filtered out Weeby Goblins 2, which is the second module. It's a different PDF. Alright, so now we've prepared our content and we need to export it from Realmworks. So what we do is we go Share, Manage Exports, come over to Custom or Partial Export. This is already associated with that Weeby Goblins tag. So what we can do is we can click Compact Output again, click Export, and now we go Weeby Goblins 1. Alright, and that will do the export and go through and do that process. Now, depending on how much content you've got that you're exporting, this is going to take a different amount of time, of course. Some of the things that I'm running, I just tend to walk away and get a coffee and come back in a bit, and it's usually ready to go. But for the sake of this video, we don't actually need to wait because I've got one ready. So we've got import test. And for anyone who's paying attention to my screen, you'll see that I've already done a fair number of exports. So there's lots of things that are going on here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the Realmworks output converter to bring in one of those exports and import it into this tool. So the first step is load Realmwork output file. Alright, that's grabbing one of these, getting ready to basically import it into here. We're at 45%, so we will go ahead with something else. Let's go ahead and do... actually, I think we've got Rapanathak has got a lot of data. See down here, it's loading Realmwork output file. Wait for that to change. That's going through and processing the data, getting it ready. So you go through and you wait for that to say complete. You can see it's got a loading screen going on, so you can't do much while you're waiting for that anyway. Rapanathak may be the wrong choice for me to import here. That is a pretty large realm. It's my active campaign. Alright, now images. Here we've got some options. So max width. I like I've played around with this. I like 300 as a size. It's not too big, it's not too small. I don't like the default import process before we had size restriction because it took up the whole screen. So this way you can set something, because as a DM, like, the image is fantastic to look at, but it's not your primary focus when you're running a game. You may want to show the picture to the players, but ultimately you kind of just want to know that the image is there so you can refer to it if you need to, but you need to get to the text, right? Oh, sounds like this one is actually done. So let's just swap that out. I'm going to load Weeby Goblins 1 just because it's quicker. Be a lot smaller. There we go. Alright, now there's options here. Just hold your mouse over these and you can see. So have all smart images show the reveal mask. So you can obviously turn that on or turn that off. That's the fog of war from inside Realmworks, if anyone hasn't played with that. I don't tend to use it, so it doesn't matter to me what I tick here. There's HTML options here, so separate topic files, how to control your map pins, whether you want an index on every page. I will say that index on every page is not really required anymore. If you've got the mod Breadcrumbs installed, you'll see in a minute why we don't need that. This option has confused a few people, and I think this is actually going to be renamed and made a little bit clearer, but folders by category. So when unchecked, folders will be created based on governed content. So what that means is, if we come over from Realmworks, governed content is like your parent-to-child relationship, right? So there will be folders made for Storyline Weeby Goblins, and then there'll be a folder made for Meeting at Moot House, and then there'll be a note under that. So if you want to retain your structure from Realmworks, leave this unticked for now. But we are talking about that on the Facebook group, so that may be changed in the future, so just pay attention to the buttons you're pressing. Use wiki links where possible. I've been leaving that checked. Do you want to create the map pins? Yes or no? Do you want to add a nav panel as a header? I'm not ticking this. I'm not struggling with navigation panels with Breadcrumbs installed. You'll see why in a minute. So I leave that unticked. Add a tag for each topic prefix. I don't use prefixes, but I do use suffixes. So what I'm going to do is I tick this one here. And what I'm referring to there, if we have a look at our mechanics reference, we have a look at a bag of holding, for example, you can see here, like, this is the prefix, this is the suffix from Realmworks. Lone Wolf Development had a requirement that all of their topics be basically tagged in the suffix with the PDF name. So I personally find this a really useful option, because I was doing data entry for them at some point, so I've basically adopted this approach myself. And what that means is, in this list here, you used to get an idea of where the content came from. And by enabling this option now, you get a tag in the system. That tag can enable you to put a grouping option for that tag, so you can visually see where that data is linking inside of the tool. So it's really handy. And add prefix to GM directions. Now, I've not played this. I'm going to leave it turned on just to have a look and see what it looks like. Alright, now, create HTML files. You could use that option, but that's not the one. This is what we're after. Create Markdown files. This is your Obsidian output. There's PDF file, there's print, and there's HTML4. But for now, you don't need to worry about that. You just come straight over here to create Markdown files. Alright, it's going to ask you where you want to save. I'm going to call this a new folder called Weeby Goblins 1. And just click Select Folder, and it starts doing its magic. Now you can see over here, actually, the magic is starting to happen already. Markdown file saved, and it's gone through and it's added that content. Now, one thing that I have noticed with this tool is when you do a large import, sometimes the data won't all appear straight away. If we have a look over here, you can see that some of the things that I'm clicking are not quite ready to do. Now, what I find the best thing that you can possibly do is close your window down and then open Obsidian up again after you do an import, obviously. It's going to load that cache. Alright, and this comes up and it starts indexing your vault. Yeah, and once the indexing occurs, then I find everything starts to work. But what I found is that if I didn't do this, I'd go through some of the indexes that are sort of like automatically created, and I basically found that there was topic and pages missing, and I thought there was an error, and I was trying to find out why the links weren't working. And ultimately what I found out is that they certainly did exist, It's just that the tool hadn't turned them on yet. Alright, so these here, for example, you'll sometimes find them grayed out, and if they're grayed out, it's basically an indication that it doesn't think that the page is there. So yeah, restart Obsidian and wait for the indexing to occur, and it should do its thing. It's really struggling at the moment, actually. Don't know why. Maybe because I've got 2 copies of the content in here. I've got Wee Big Goblins twice. Probably not a good idea. But anyway, we can now see what's going on. You can see the nice pictures here. If we go into edit mode, you can see that 300 option that I put in has been applied to the pictures. So that's handy. You can see that there's an additional link here that's been enabled for that player view functionality. There we go. You can see that everything's been sort of formatted. There's nice options in here for bold. There's options in here for italics. There's heading section areas, and it's got governed content here links, so you can easily click your way around. So that's really good. If we go over here, ooh, that is really struggling. I wonder if I can just. I'm going to turn off Graph View for a sec, just because my computer is sounding like it's having a bit of a heart attack. That'll speed things up. What we have over here is the Breadcrumbs Matrix. Now, sometimes this takes a little bit to load. Index has been refreshed. I think it needs. I found this here. It's something that basically can take a little bit to turn back on once you've just done an initial data load. It just struggles with the load, I'm finding. Here we go, that's going a lot quicker. I wonder what I'm trying to get. See, here we go. Breadcrumbs is enabled, which is a plugin, and you can see that this hierarchy here just wasn't completely updating to show everything that I thought it should. I'm going to turn this one down, put that up there. And now we can go to our Breadcrumbs Matrix. Alright, there we go. So yeah, restart the tool until you see it doing what you think it should be doing. But what Breadcrumbs does, if we go into edit mode and we have a look up here, you'll see all these parent up, next, down relationships. This is part of Breadcrumbs, and you know, if you're creating NPCs, you can create some great relationship systems with this. But basically, Martin's gone away and figured out how to turn it into like this automatic index thing. So as you can see up here, it gives you a bit of an indication of where the contents come from down the tree, and there's links to all of the different content that you've got inside of your module. But more importantly, over here you get this really nice automatic sort of index that you can click around and get access to all your data. Probably the only thing I don't like is just how much room this breadcrumb stuff takes up here, and unfortunately that's part of Breadcrumbs as far as I'm aware. So I haven't found a way to turn that off yet, but I probably don't need that personally, but it is functionality of the plugin is my understanding. So you got your topics, you've got your tags, you've got your links, you've got your governed content, and it's really just bringing it in nice and efficiently. So yeah, as you can see, there's not a great deal to it. Super quick, super efficient process, and Martin, thank you very, very much for all of the effort you're putting into this. People go and buy this man a coffee. Like, yeah, we need to keep this guy pumping out updates for us, because this is making the tool really usable for us. So yeah, anyway, that's how you go from being having your data in Realmworks, exporting it out into Obsidian. As you can see, super simple process, super quick, formats it really nicely, and from there you can really sort of stop and start to think about, well, how am I going to structure my data? What changes do I need to make? For me, it's created a whole other problem, really. Like, my content is probably too linked in Realmworks, if I'm completely honest, and I'm starting to think about, you know, do I need to isolate some data so that the linking breaks and export it out, so I can then bring that into a new Obsidian vault in a cleaner way, and use the linking the way I want. So I don't know where my mind's at with all of that, but anyway, if you are enjoying this content, please do like and subscribe. I will post some links in the description below so you can access the Realmworks output formatter. There'll be links there for you to support filing with a Patreon, or maybe buy them out of coffee. And outside of that, if you'd like to obviously catch up, we are all hanging out on the Obsidian TTRPG Facebook group. So feel free to pop in and join in the conversation. But with that, guys, have a great day, and I will speak to you on the forums.